Welcome everyone, another great video. Kevin and I are going back to our business and sports series, talking about hockey teams, talking about sports teams. How do they make money? We're going to answer that today. Do you want to start us off, Kevin?
Yes, revenue. That is the big thing. You need to make as much revenue as you can with as little expenses, and you make the most money. And as we know, sports organizations can make some huge dollars, and it's only gotten bigger and bigger and bigger. Again, if we just want to start out first, the main four revenue streams for almost any sport are advised as the ones they got listed below: media rights, ticket sales and merchandise, sponsorship and licensing, and sports betting. Now, there are a few little intrinsic moves in between all these, but those would be the four main ones. And I guess the easiest way to start this, Clint, is media rights. What has media rights done for sports in general?
Yeah, so four big categories there. We're going to talk about them at a high level, and you're right. We'll start with the largest, that TV streaming, that media rights. This data here is from the Hollywood Reporter, and you can see the current contracts in place. NFL by far being the biggest here in North America. Anyway, if you go overseas, could be a different story. But North America, companies are paying top dollar to broadcast NFL games. You can see NBA is getting a big chunk of money. Hockey is getting a big chunk of money, as is baseball, and even soccer. Apple paid $2.5 billion to stream all those games, and that is the biggest source of revenue. When it comes to sports teams, is they get pieces. Each team will get a piece of these streaming or TV rights, because the league makes the deal, then each team gets a little bit of cut of the pie. Is that how it works?
Yeah, I mean, that's the basics. I mean, what's going on? So, I mean, if we just take the NFL contract alone, so that's for the next 10 years, they're getting paid $110 billion, or roughly $11 billion the league makes a year. And then they divide that revenue up. Some of it goes to the home office, but they divide it up amongst the 32 teams. So theoretically speaking, each team is starting with roughly $300 million a year in TV revenue. Now, your expenses are basically, for players, it's half that. So the owners are already making money off something along those lines. Now, that, of course, is the exaggerated example, because the NFL is the number one play. It's on every Sunday night. They've got other nights from there. And as you see, the numbers go down slowly but surely for the other teams. But yeah, TV revenue and streaming has done nothing but bring huge money in, because everybody wants to see the sport. And if you can't get there live, TV's been the next best thing.
That's right. And you can see it's changing to streaming. Amazon made a play for, I think it's Thursday Amazon gets for NFL.
Yes, they have Thursday nights.
Yeah, and then Apple, of course, streaming. They don't have a TV channel. It's Apple Streaming, Apple TV Plus, I believe they're the name they go by, and they have all the soccer games now. So
yes, they do.
TV rights, media rights is a larger conglomerate title there, and certainly moving to streaming platform, live sports being a very big thing. But that is the biggest piece of the four. We'll now move into that second category. That's where we're talking about the merchandising, the licensing, and a little bit of data there. This is from Statista. I probably said that wrong. Stats.
Yeah.
It's on the bottom. You can see it right there. You can go there. They post this stuff for free, publicly available, all the notations there. But this is looking at the merchandising market in North America. So it includes all the sports. And you can see steady growth there over the years on the forecast. The ones with two little stars beside them are estimates. But for 2023, estimating $15.43 billion in merchandise. And so what would that include? That'd be if you buy a jersey with your favorite player on it, that's merchandising. You get a bobblehead. Let's say you play a video game and there's a character in there. The likeness of the character is part of the licensing and merchandising market. And this is certainly a big market. This is another big piece of that revenue pie when it comes to sports teams.
Yeah, and I mean, this has basically been picking up over the last probably 15 to 20 years in particular. In the case that wherever you go nowadays, they always have themes too. I mean, yes, us in Winnipeg here, when the Jets make it to the playoffs, it's wear white. So you have to have white something. Most people aren't wearing a white T-shirt. They're going out and buying a white jersey or a white sweatshirt with the logo on it. So those are huge marketing endeavors for a lot of these teams, or any of the special jerseys that come out. People want a piece of this and that. So again, marketing has become so good in that they want to put that merchandise out. And everybody nowadays, you want a piece of your favorite team, and you want to be able to support it that way. So that's huge. Ticket sales, of course, are the smaller portion of that scenario. But again, depending on the league, that is going to be a huge factor. So, I mean, if you take a look at the NFL, they don't really have to have a lot of ticket sales to be able to be profitable. NHL, though, completely different. You take a league like the Canadian Football League, they live off of ticket sales. If they don't have them, then they're going to be in problems. But as this chart shows, during COVID, the revenue lost due to attendance. Now, the NFL lost $4 billion. NBA lost 1.5. Baseball in particular, with 162 games, lost $3 billion. So as you can see, even though ticket sales for some leagues are not the biggest factor, there is a huge factor there for lost revenue when you don't have it.
Yeah, and like you said, it varies by league. Like the NFL, that's a big number for ticket sales, but the merchandising, the TV rights, that alone makes every team in the league profitable. And this is just an extra $4 billion of gravy, apparently, just the ticket sales alone. But it gives you an idea. This is from Round Hill Investments. They did a great summary here, and it's the loss due to the COVID shutdowns. This gives you an idea of how much they normally get in terms of revenue from the ticket sales. So ticket sales, merchandise was that second category, and we'll get into the others in just a second. But reminder, if you have questions, whether it's specifically on sports, really any financial thing, financial plan, retirement, let us know. Chatwithclintonkevin.com. It's part of our website. We'd certainly love to hear from you. Fill in the form, comes directly to us. We get back to everyone that fills in that form and answer the question the best that we can. So please do reach out. We'll get now to the third of the big four revenue categories, and we're going to move in to some of the other licensing categories and sponsorship deals. And we've seen a few big ones. I'll pull up a couple examples here, Kevin, but you can run us through these. Some big wins and maybe some big losses in here too.
Well, yeah, I mean, basically, a lot of these sports companies or sports merchandisers, they want to compete for what they can supply. As we see, the NBA signed an 8-year deal for $1 billion with Nike. All their apparel approved for the league, NBA approved, is now all Nike based. That is a huge deal for Nike going forward. It also helps the NBA because that's $1 billion of pure profit just by wearing this stuff. So that helps out a whole bunch.
On the jersey, right?
Right, exactly. And as we've seen with almost every European soccer team, I mean, you don't ever see the team's name on there. You see the sponsor's name on there. That's what they pay big money for, like $55 million for an annual sponsorship. That's all just to get your name on a jersey. We've seen the same thing in European hockey where you're littered with tags all over the place just because you want to get as much as you can in sponsorship. And of course, Clint, why don't you touch on the Miami Heat? This is one you particularly like.
This is the sponsorship and licensing deals. So the third category of revenue we talked about, and naming rights for arenas is part of that, right? Here in Winnipeg, the Jets Arena changed names. There was one name for the longest time. Then the rights came up, a different sponsor bought it. But a hot button issue here was the 19-year, I'm highlighting that, $135 million naming rights deal for the Miami Heat, the FTX Arena. FTX is a crypto company. Important note, FTX is now bankrupt and the owner is in jail pending fraud charges. So that deal didn't work out so well. The arena is now under a different name, but still big dollars. Companies will pay tens, if not hundreds of millions of dollars to have their name every single time someone mentions the arena, they mention the sponsor. That's another way that the leagues or the sports teams can generate some revenue. And when I look into some of the other categories, the fourth category here, Kevin, the growing category of sports betting. I say growing because right now in Canada, it's somewhat legal. In the US, it varies by state. In fact, only 27% of the US population, according to Round Hill Investments, actually has access to legal mobile sports betting. So it is a growing category, but one where companies can get some additional revenue, right?
Yeah, and I mean, a lot of these things have to do with the league tie-ins and everything else. And beforehand, I mean, the only place you could go, you went to Vegas, you went to Atlantic City to bet. It was about the only places you could go. Now, almost every state is starting to come along with some form of a selling or a betting scenario so that you can bet on each play, bet on the games, have the spreads. And again, the league tie-ins, there's partnerships by putting these things together with MGM Bet or whatever the case may be. And one of the other factors is selling of data. I mean, everybody wants to know who's injured, what's the injury and everything else. Those have a huge effect on how the odds for games are projected and how the sports books can be able to make money off of it by putting things in the right perspective. So as we see, as this continues to grow, and as you said, it's only 27%. As that grows and grows, I mean, this is only a small portion now, but eventually this could take over the media side and be a huge factor for a lot of sports teams going forward.
Yeah, as more and more states have legal betting, you're just going to see that growth throughout North America and growth certainly throughout the U.S. and become a larger and larger revenue category. If you look at the figures now, of the four we mentioned, that's probably the smallest, but one with the most upside potential, so to speak, right? Because there's still a lot of area where that could be seen as growth and you'd get quite a bit of additional revenue there for a sports team. We've done other videos of this nature. So if you're liking this video on business and sports, we did one on the NHL salary cap and how that works. You're certainly welcome to click on that video, which is probably floating, I'm going to guess over here somewhere, right above Kevin. And we'll be back again soon with another video. Everyone take care.
Thank you.